Well, all right. Good. Still not giving me a time limit, so this means I've got plenty of memory. I could get these onto a drive. Okay. So, one of the things I had to, there was somebody who had posted a video, an Asian guy who was talking about like what it's like just being this group of people who can openly be assaulted in like a place like California and stuff, and that nobody does anything about it. And I just really want to make this clear to a lot of Asian Americans. I grew up in San Francisco during the 90s. I got to see the last period of time when the Chinese guys stopped taking that shit. All the Asians had their crews and their gangs, and the Chinese would, if you were looking in their direction, the Chinese gangster guys, like the Wo Hop To, the Wai Chang boys, all those kind of people, over the ocean, so they would immediately be like, "What's up?" They would literally, they would yell, like, you would be at a distance, and they would be like, "What's up?" And they would do it fast. They were exceedingly reactive. I didn't understand it when I encountered it, and it's because I was encountering people who were significantly older than me. In a way, they were older than me. I would have been a freshman. These would have been like juniors and seniors in high school, and then some guys who were older, and there was also there were certain strict traditions to like you went up the chain, you answered up a chain of command, and like if you were their people, you were their people. Like you didn't buy drugs from one guy who wasn't in your line. Like you paid up the chain. The hustle always went up the chain. Fireworks, quaaludes, things like that. Stolen cars were the really, really big thing at that time, and stolen equipment, stereo equipment, and things like that. Hubcaps, stuff like that. So the thing that I just really want to get into, and then it just stopped. Then 99 was starting to come up, and the rumor was that there were all these guys in organized crime that they're like, no, we got to tighten this up. There's too much violence in Chinatown. This is attracting too much attention. That's not how we do things. And there's too much money to be made. With Hong Kong changing over, there's too much money to be made. So there's too much potential here, and so they didn't want that going awry. So they were tough Chinese guys, tough Chinamen, tough Chinamen. And as the years went on, I got into Chinese martial arts and Okinawan martial arts when I was an adult, because I had put a lot of the stuff from my youth behind me. But I got to admit, I had not been aware of what I was seeing. I was seeing from my end, and the kind of people I hung out with. Asians were getting fucked with like a lot in the 80s into the 90s, and this was a period of time where they were like, we're just simply not taking this shit anymore. And they were way serious. Like, you had to really, really, really be worried if you got on their shit list. You could, and because they used melee weapons. They did not shoot you, they stabbed you. They beat you with pipes, things like that. And a lot of them. They also had methods by which they would sort of roam in packs in a way. So one car would turn into five. And I really mean that. One car would turn into 5 carloads of fucking Chinese gangsters, and it was just, it was like, holy fucking shit. Like, so you ran. When Chinese gangsters got mad, you typically did a lot of shouting, but you did a lot of shouting while getting space between you, and that didn't help either, because they were all in cars, and they would find you. They so you just didn't fuck with them. So hearing black guys as the years went on talking about all this drama they get into with the Chinamen, that I'm sitting there going, okay, you had to start that. I'm not stupid anymore. I know how this works. You had to have started this shit with them, and you couldn't finish it. And as time's gone on, now that I've become more and more aware of the way crime really works, wow, that is one poppin' MILF. Yep. Um, that is a poppin' MILF. All right, so. Eugene, Oregon's got MILF. It's got drug addicts, it's got problems, and it's got MILF. So the Chinese people they probably remember within the community. They're probably too polite to discuss those days. But once I became an adult and started to find out how during the Barack Obama administration, the Democrats were working in cahoots with things like the National Association of Black Journalists and other journalism groups to stop racism or to encourage diversity, they don't tell you that black people commit the majority of over-the-color assaults against every other group. Black American males are like literally at I think 4% of the population as a whole. Once you start getting into the criminal element, this is now cutting it down to about 1%. So all the shootings, all the killings, all the people fucking with you are about 1% of the population. This could be dealt with. The Democrats aren't doing it because the Democrats like knowing they can intimidate you. They like knowing that they can humiliate you. This is the thing you need to really get. The Democratic Party are middle-class, college-educated, white liberals. And you are not. You are Asians. And they see you as a different group. Doesn't matter if they treat you like friends. You are a threat to their livelihood because you will very likely succeed in private industry where they won't. You will make their son look stupid. You will make their daughter look lazy. Yeah. So, and I'm not talking about conservatives. I'm not talking about people who like they could do the job. They don't drink a lot. They get up on time. They show up to work early. Like, no. Not people who everything about the way they live indicates sort of traditionalism and a conservative lifestyle. No. I'm talking about the people that they don't know what is in between their legs. I'm talking about these yellow fucking eels, dude. And, yeah, I said it. And these fucking yellow eels, and all these weirdos who maybe can do the job, kind of can do the job. You don't want to be rude. You're raised as a polite Asian American. You do not want to be rude. Rudeness is for stupid people. But you are getting played. You're getting totally fucking played. The Democratic Party knows you'll pay your taxes. You will keep voting Democratic because you simply are for some strange reason. A lot of you Asian Americans think that there's something you get from the Democratic Party as political interest-wise. I don't know what it is. I can no longer figure out what you think you get. Maybe put it in the comments. I mean, maybe you've convinced yourself that Republicans are racist against Asians. I don't know where you would get that from. I mean, really. Like, that's one where, holy crap, you delusional weirdo, don't know where you're getting that one from. You delusional. You mega delusional. You need to stop taking the drugs, or you need to start taking more drugs, because that's delusional. The Democrats also never know much about you. They really culturally they're not interested in your background. They do not want to be like, oh yeah, instead of teaching, rather than them saying the printing press that they want to de-Europeanize or decolonize history, so they're going to make sure everybody knows about the greatness of the Tang Dynasty. When Christianity reached the emperor, and there was and back in when the Chinese invented the printing press and the seismometer, they're not going, the astrolabe, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to teach that. They're not going to teach the brilliance of the I Ching and a Taoist the wheel, the Taoist wheels. There's a term for it, and it's just it's gone. It's fucking gone. But the feng shui wheel that Taoist Wus use, Wusher or Wubins or whatever you use. You're never gonna. That's not gonna happen. The binary code and its relationship to the trigrams. That's not going to happen. Explaining who Guanggong is and the relationship between Guanggong and Veda Buddha and all of and how this becomes this important symbol, one in the north, one in the south, of the sword-bearing god and then the cudgel-bearing deity, and the cudgel that subdues Mara, that subdues not delusion, but subdues temptations and the passions, and that because you see, then they would be teaching that what the highest idea of a male deity is this deity that actually destroys evil, which is associated with the passions and is associated with not being able to control your passions, the subduing Mara. And that you see, they don't want to discuss real Chinese, real Vietnamese, real Korean culture, real Tibetan culture. They don't want to do that. They want to discuss curiosities, the food that they like to eat, how oppressed you feel, how the white man has took China from you, and and communism. Aren't you glad now that everybody's a communist in China? So they don't want to teach something about Chinese culture. Let me make also clear that they don't want to get into any of the what Wu-Tang Clan kind of exposed about the relationship also between the Chinese and Black Americans. That this tremendous sort of high regard that Black Americans hold, a lot of men hold Chinese men in high regard because of how hard Chinese men work, and then that they have all these ancient cultural secrets that they pass on, and that they're very patriarchal and very strict with their children, and that there's a lot of Black Americans that quite admire that. And it naturally sort of even gravitate a little toward that culture, and so you get things like the Wu-Tang Clan, the huge number of Black Americans who are into Kung Fu and Karate and Kenpo, Taekwondo, but there's a very large portion of Black American criminals that are the problem. They are the social problem. And until Asian Americans start saying no, these white liberals are letting us get beat up. You're doing it on purpose. Until you look at them and say, you guys are doing this on purpose, you're letting them beat us up. Until you go at these newspapers and say, why aren't you identifying Black assailants when they do? Why isn't this hate crime? Why are none of you admitting these are hate crimes? Really, that's the big one. Is that a whole group of Asian lawyers should demand that the Republican Party Republicans have hearings on hate crimes, and specifically hate crimes against Asians by Black Americans, because that's who's doing it. By the numbers, that's who's doing it. And until you admit this, until you're truthful, nothing gets better. That's why everything is the way it is, because everyone's a liar now. We're still lying to ourselves about the virus. We're lying about gender. We're lying about race and crime. We're lying about that intelligence is real and is passed on from parents. We're lying about dysgenics. We're lying about all these things, and it's only making it worse. And it not just is making it worse, it's snowballing. It's actually becoming monumentally worse. Oh, by the way, making sure that I wear my Pure Blood shirt so I could laugh at all these fuckers. These fuckers are still wearing... I saw 2 carloads of idiots go by with masks on. Go by with masks on. Everybody in the fucking car. Windows up. Windows up. And I think it looked like they were churchy people, which is even more like where it's like, oh my gosh. And the churchy white Americans, these liberal white churches, they are so poorly, they're just so run into the fucking outhouse with full of glory holes by their hens. These cuckolded people, these ridiculous Christians that are just cuckolded and are going and doing and just obeying whatever the government tells them. Trying desperately to, no, Jesus would support trannies. Oh my God. So, another thing that has, I just really want to reiterate, there is nothing more bourgeois than middle-class, college-educated white liberals and their issues around the transgender stuff and gender, and how now what this is, and I really want to make sure Asian Americans understand this. I want to make sure that a lot of black Americans who keep insisting on siding with the liberals really get this, is these are people that have come up with this gender stuff because then they don't have to compete. They don't have to compete in the real world if they're genders, if they're gender sexuals. They always can then talk about gender sexuality with somebody and get a special position at some job or take positions from people, get them and all their gender sexual friends, so that they can then run the business pretty much into the ground, as we're seeing with almost all major creative industries. And this goes to HR. I'm already hearing there was somebody who was getting interviewed. I think V was interviewing him, and he's saying, oh, no. A lot of these companies are getting it. A lot of these companies are really starting to get worried about the fact that there's a lot of zombie firms. Like, so Reventure Consulting found out that, like, especially Democratic enclaves have a lot of zombie fucking firms. So money goes in, but no profits go out. There's only so long that this can last. The world of HR is becoming more and more this problematic place where you can't get people in HR who will hire qualified people. They hire people who all run your company into the ground and insist on having lots and lots of meetings about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with products and services, and then making profits for the firm. And now a place like Twitter is showing this completely. Twitter. We now know that the DOJ and FBI were working in cahoots to slowboat Russiagate documents. So now we've got it. The DOJ, the FBI, and so this therefore means, because this was international espionage, this also involves the CIA. So the CIA, and then remember, they started wiretapping Flynn. Flynn actually told everybody that they were wiretapping Trump Tower because of the Russiagate bullshit. So that's where now you're at. That you actually have the Democratic Party working in cahoots with a bunch of people in the press, British intelligence, and then the DOJ and the FBI, and that this was all a giant operation to frame up Trump from the very beginning. And Republicans have to understand now that most of the three-letter agencies fundamentally have to go. It's not even that they have to be reformed. No, we have to cut their budgets to the point where it's anemic and see what happens. That's the only way this is going to work. There is no way this works. You have to do a leak test. You have to submerge the whole goddamn thing underwater, and that's what you're going to be doing, and or you're going to lose. These agencies will literally just eliminate the populist and America First movement from within the party, like they did during the Bush years, during where the Bush family was running everything in the Republican Party for almost my entire young life. This also then implicates that because there is no widespread investigation into Antifa, this was actually admitted by the DOJ that they don't have an active, any group within the FBI or DOJ that's actively investigating them. It's in cahoots. The party, the FBI, the DOJ, they're in cahoots. The footage we got to see of Rittenhouse that it turned out the FBI had via drone, that so basically there shouldn't have even been a trial. The FBI should have been like, oh no, we have evidence that this is exactly what happened. So again, this is literally like the FBI and DOJ over and over and over again in some operation to make not just Trump but anybody who supported him or anything associated with that movement look bad. And now you're seeing like glow-in-the-dark show up places with Nazi flags, and you're seeing the Patriot Front, another thing like Atomwaffen, that it just simply did not exist. Nobody on the right wing even knows what it is. They're like, this isn't a thing. Who are these people? They just appear out of nowhere and then jump in a U-Haul and vanish. I love that. They jump in a U-Haul and vanish. So this isn't even like... this is so glow-in-the-dark and so phony. It's not even... They didn't even rent, like, rental vans. Because, you see, if you rent a rental van, you would have to in some way kind of start being able to identify people. And, it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious how bad this thing is that they're doing. That this is a government operation. And now... and so Twitter... and Facebook were helping Antifa organize. They were going out of their way to make sure if there were streams going where rioters were rioting, that they didn't cut the stream off. But when it comes to anybody who is on a list of channels or influencers that are right-wing, that there's all kinds of trouble they could get into very easily, to the point where they have to use euphemisms constantly. You know, somebody like the Quartering has to use euphemisms constantly, and it's because so now this is the big thing: is the right has been completely vindicated, and everything coming out now about COVID as well. We are being completely and totally vindicated. Now you really have now the data is saying that if you were 65 and you regularly got exercise and kept your weight in control, you actually very likely would have never had any more than the symptoms of like just kind of like feeling a little low energy and kind of like you're going to be you're trying to fight off a cold. That now there's ample evidence that actually the only people that COVID-19 really has affected have been people who have extremely bad health or have extremely weak immune systems. That's now what the data is showing. And it's beautiful because this is now the stuff that the CDC the CDC has it, the Pfizer and all of them. This is a lot of their data, and this is beautiful. This is Pfizer's data, and this is beautiful. And we've been completely vindicated. We've been completely and totally vindicated. This was just kind of a bad cold, and it was a bad cold that only affected you if you were in bad health already. And there's just a lot of people that don't want to admit they get sick easy because of dysgenics. Because of dysgenics. They are not equipped to fight off the cold. Because they smoke cigarettes and they're overweight and they drink wine a lot because they think that makes you a smart liberal. Because they're lushes, because the liberal culture is based around lushery. That these are people now that are like, oh yeah, everybody should take experimental drug regimes because we don't like to exercise. Because liberals really don't like to exercise. There's this myth that liberals are physically healthy, good-looking people. It's a myth. I live around them. It's a myth. Discipline is a conservative quality. Self-control and regulating the passions is conservative. Teachers, now there's a thing Christopher Rufo did, that it's turning out that now with just this year, up to this day, we've had 180 something, so basically about one a day of teachers being arrested, charged or arrested for something related to the abuse of children. And like there was an article. I've got to actually look it up. There's something I'm probably, when I post this, I'm going to go and I'm going to see if I could post some of the links. That this was one that came up. Somebody actually already did a video on this too. I think Salty Cracker did. But then on top of it, this was a Zero Hedge article. But Christopher Rufo is the one who did the research, and so that means that there's more coming. And he's starting to find, like, oh, no, this idea of school teachers, female rapists, female child molesters, this is a thing. This is a thing in our society, and we're only now finding out about it. The big list was a real thing. The big list was a legit thing, of the big list of female child abusers, criminals, molesters, exploiters, and now people are going to start finding out that there's this very large number, and these are not, like, these women don't look like super weird in any way. I mean, a lot of them are like really like the kind of women who you think like, oh, you know, what an average kind of heavy set, you know, like plumpy. She's a plumpy, you know, average plumpy, but exceedingly average. Like that they'll look very. You can lose them in a crowd. You could totally lose these people in a crowd. You know, and that people don't realize like how many of them that there's a lot of this going on in public schools, and that it's because women, like most criminals, prey on what they can prey on. So they prey on children and they prey on old people. There's this recent thing of now you get these women like Jankiewicz, who thinks that she could prey on like grown men. That she thinks that, oh, well, I have power and I can make men do what I want because I'm a public official. And then she finds out like, oh no, actually men will absolutely positively humiliate me and make fun of me in a way that gives me no credibility. And because I have no credibility, I therefore can't really have power over men. This is what really is upsetting a lot of women now, is that men are just like, no, I just don't think you're probably that smart. You probably have a good job. You probably have money. You know, probably successful at doing something that's relatively normal. You know, I'm just not impressed. I'm just not impressed with you. And that's really getting to a lot of women, that they're like, what do you mean you're not impressed with me? I've done these things that I think is impressive. And it's like, yes, because, you know, that's not impressive to men. So, no, yeah. It's not impressive to men. What you're doing is normal. You're being normal. You have a job. Oh yeah, the Hawks are out. So I just thought I would bring some of these things up. They've been rolling over in my head for a while. Asians need to rise up. You need to vote Republican, period. You need to vote ultra-nationalist. The only people who are on your side are us. Us nationalists are the only people who are on your side. The big thing is you can't have a soft spot for commies. Communism is the past. Karl Marx is the past. This is why you have the problems you have right now, is because it's a bunch of Marxists, and justice isn't justice to Marxists. See, justice is black people getting ample opportunity to victimize Asians. In their mind, that's justice. If you give them enough chance, you will find that these white liberals will claim that you are oppressing black people. They will. You have to just dig into them enough. You have to dig into them enough and start bringing up what are the numbers about blacks and violence and crime, and especially over the color line, and inevitably they will finally get to the point where they're like, well, you see, Asians have wealth, and wealth is the oppressive power of the capitalismo, and and then you'll hear the crazy, and you'll hear what they really think of Asians. That's unbelievably important. Liberals, you don't know what some of these hippie dumb shits really think of Asians. I do. I've been around them long enough to know that they have some. It's sort of like it's actually almost every group has some kind of magic power, and it's what kind of like Russians have no magic powers; they have evil magic. Jews own all of the rentals. This is stuff liberals, like super hippie liberals, hippies. Asian culture is, I don't know what that means, but that's what it is. It's very, it's not that Asians are smart and they want you to make good and they stay married. No, it has something to do with waving a fist and having a grimacing face. This is what hippie dips have said, and oh my God, and the way that they ascribe superpowers to black people now, it just is crazy. But the most important now are gays. Lil Nas X is a white act. It's not a black act, and he's even had to admit it. He's even had to admit that he can't get anywhere in black American music, really, because nobody lends him the credibility. Because, well, he's not that good. He's not that good. Rap is not that good. I'm sorry. It's like that, It's just fucking like that. Nobody says, I don't respect Little Richard because he was into dudes. Everybody who's black understands, Little Richard was into dudes, and Little Richard was one of the most talented black musicians in the last 100 years. The most influential musicians in the past 2 generations. They don't say, oh, fucking Prince. He's weird. No. People go, damn, Prince was an amazing dancer, hitting the fucking jazz splits while playing guitar. And he's one of the most important musicians in American music in the last 100 years. So, it's this, but Lil Nas X can't get his own generation to give him the respect he thinks he deserves. Just speaks fucking volume. But hey, white people love him. White boys love him. But they're sort of white boys. They're white boy, girl boy, tran. Don't judge them, because it's not that they're trying to get themselves out of doing hard labor or manly jobs. No, you see, manly jobs are for Mexicans. Manly jobs are for Mexicans. just to give the Hispanic brothers your propers. That's you. The white liberals are expecting that. Well, don't worry, everything will be fine because we'll just import Mexicans and they're real men. All right, later.